Okay.
Go ahead and get this energy going.
Feel good.
Okay.
Feel good.
Here we are.
All right.
I think sometimes we just forget that we're still human beings. Yeah, I think it's important that everyone should know their status. Knowing your status is the first step to really kind of having that conversation. I think it's important we learn how to tackle stigma and get rid of it. I think it's such an extremely amazing thing that I get to do this every day and meet such great people and learn their story and share some of their story with the people that watch us every day. To remember to stay hopeful in victory.
Hi guys, welcome back and good morning. This is Hopeful and Victory Talks. I am Dusty Lion and I have a special guest with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. I'm Cheris Larson and I work here at Project Oz.
Woo! So she kind of gave you already where we're at. We're at Project Oz here in Bloomington, Illinois. Can I say our location? Is
Sure,
that okay?
yeah.
Perfect. And today's topic is we're talking about issues that affect youth as well as LGBT youth or youth who identify as queer. Before we go ahead and jump right into the heat of the conversation, let's go ahead and start with a dab of that coffee. Bing!
Good.
So that's good. That's good. It's a little bit warm, but it's good. I'll dab. with
Yeah,
you.
here, well,
We'll
I
dab.
got some water.
That'll work.
There we go. Cheers
Yes.
to that.
Ah.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. And I got my little cheat sheet here with me, guys. So go ahead and ignore that. Cheris,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up here in Bloomington, Illinois. Been here all my life. Went to Bloomington High School, so a shout out to the Raiders.
Hey,
You know?
shout out to the Raiders.
Right. Went to school, started at Heartland, did a couple years, and then finished my degree online distance through Liberty University. Went to school for psychology. Originally went for art and decided that wasn't my track.
No, wasn't your thing?
I love art. I
Yeah?
still love art. I love photography, but I thought, I'll never make money in photography, so I decided to go into social work because you make a ton of money in social work.
And you help people too. on
Well,
top of
that's
that.
true, yeah. So-
'Cause you want to make money. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with making money.
No.
Get your coin. Get your coin, girl.
Right, exactly. So no, I realized that my passion was in helping and serving others and,
Yeah.
and really just pouring myself into young people, because I wanted to give to young people what I felt that maybe I didn't get as a young person, or that I saw other, youth struggling with. And so, not that I had this idea that I could actually save everyone, but, even if I can touch a few people, that's what I wanted to do. So I interned here at Project Oz.
Awesome.
Just a couple years ago. We won't say how many years ago, just a few.
We got to keep some secrets, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've never left. So they offered me a position straight
I'm
out
glad
of my
you did it
internship.
because we were talking before this, and guys, she is amazing and such a sweetheart and just very genuine soul that this community do need.
Thank you. Thanks. So I love what I do. I love what we do as an agency. I love the people that we serve and all the people that work here. We're just a really tight crew, and everyone has that passion, and everyone has a different way of displaying it and of working what their strengths are, and
Yeah.
it's just so cool to see. And so I've just really loved seeing all the people that are here and serve in the community, and so I can't imagine being anywhere else.
And that's such a beautiful thing about being in a work environment that allows that difference, because when you know the different qualities and strengths and weaknesses that you have,
Yeah.
you kind of play off of each other, and it just makes the environment just better for everybody.
It does.
And it just feeds into the community, so
Yeah.
it reflects as well. Let's go ahead and jump into Project Oz. Can
Yeah.
you give us a little bit of information or history? Let's start there.
Sure.
About the organization.
So yeah, the history. It was started by Peter Rankaitis, who is our founder and our executive director up until last October. He just recently retired. So he and his wife started Project Oz in 1973.
Wow.
So they were fresh out of college, or maybe even still in college when they started.
So that's kind of like something that they just like, hey, let's do this and
Yeah.
let's just do it.
Yeah, they were in the community and they saw a need, and they wanted to give a place for young people to really just come in and talk about what they're going through and what their issues were. And so they're like, let's have a drop-in center. And they rented out a little house and they had a drop-in center, and it evolved from there. You know, and so in 1973 it was just, hey, come in and talk. And from there they expanded to substance use prevention and education. From that, they did runaway and homeless youth outreach and transitional housing and school-based outreach and, you know, suicide awareness and kind of everything. So it's,
really grew.
It
really
has
grew.
grown a lot in 46 years. So
And
it's
what's
wonderful.
so funny is I always, like, this is not very far from where I live. I always drive like across the little train tracks, and
Yeah.
I never noticed, like, I did notice, but I always wonder, like, I wonder what that is. I
Yeah.
wonder what that is. And I met one of the employees or even volunteers who
Okay.
volunteer here,
Cool.
and we were both awarded by BCAI
Yeah.
just our involvement with the community and our impact that we had it, and that's when I learned about it. And I'm like, I've never heard about this. Let me do some homework. And then I found out about it. I'm like, who do I need to go to talk with
Yes.
them and like just really like not even advocate, but if I didn't know that was there may be other people who don't know about it and who could really use some of the resources that you guys offer.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm glad you heard about us.
Yeah,
I'm glad you reached out.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me here.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome.
Why do you think it's important to have the different resources and programs in the community
Yeah, so
that you offer? Sorry.
that we offer, of
Yes.
course. No, so I think that it's important because I mean, we serve young people, so youth, anywhere from ages 10 to 23 is kind of our age range, and those young people are vulnerable, and they can be moldable, and so they need those resources and they need the connections to those resources to be the best version of who they are. And that's pretty much what we're here for. You know, we have the connections that they can get involved with, but it's them. They're the ones who lead where they want to go, and we just kind of guide them along the way and help them out. But a lot of times, you know, a lot of young people don't necessarily get the resources at home or in their living environment that they deserve or that they need. And so we can kind of help bridge that gap. You know, if they, as simple as food or basic necessities, transportation, yeah, anything, all the way up to someone to talk to and someone to really listen and someone to kind of work through.
Too.
Oh, very important.
Because if you're going through something and you don't have someone at home to talk to about it, you're just kind of like carrying all that with you and like don't know how to really express it, so you're maybe getting involved with different things that you shouldn't be into, or maybe you're just expressing more anger than love, or emoting that more often than any other emotion that you do have.
Yeah, and people struggle with how to relate and how to share proper emotions, and so, you know, hopefully we can help them with that and kind of build better relationships and help them work on their relationships with family or friends or peers or whoever that they want to relate better with.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys really set up youth with life skills. Learning how to budget, maybe, learning how to emote properly and talk and really understanding to take care of yourself, and also some of the needs that they may need as far as transportation, transitioning, housing. What I've come to learn just doing a little bit of homework is that a lot of youth and people or youth that identify in the core spectrum is that, you know, they have a really hard time kind of, or not hard time, but one of the issues is that they face is when they're understanding and learning about their sexuality or their gender, maybe they don't identify as per se what they were born as. They then are neglected by their own family. What are the steps that you kind of do to kind of not mediate but help them through that process?
Yeah, so it depends certainly on kind of the age of the young person.
Yeah.
Because if they're still living at home, that certainly brings in a different dynamic, because we want to help them work on that relationship with their family. And anytime a young person comes into our front door, so we treat young people the minute that they walk through that door just as who they are, who they present themselves as they are at that moment. We don't care what their background is, how they identify, we don't care about any of that. We just care that they've come in and that they've sought out services, or we've been referred to them, through schools or through law enforcement, or whoever refers them to us. We just know that, great, they have a need, and we want to try and fulfill that need. And so any young person who's struggling with any issue, trying to work on that relationship, whether with their family or their relatives or their friends, we just want to give them those tools to really kind of feel better about themselves, to gain more insight.
Very important.
Yeah, they need to just gain more insight into who they are and who they want to be, and then who they can present themselves to their friends and families as well. So, so we just, whatever they need. Like I said, it's very youth-led. Certainly we have different tools that we use, and certain, different ways that we work with the young people depending on what their situation is, but it's youth-led. If whatever they're wanting to focus on is up to them. Yeah, so
kind of, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is going to be an off question.
Sure.
Just based off of what you're saying, being youth-led, can you give like kind of, not an example of, but kind of how do you really get that information and understand, like, okay, this is a need, let's present it to the board and the staff, and how can we cater to it? So kind of how do you kind of find that information for yourself, and then also express that to your staff, so that there's a universal forefront when encountering this topic?
Sure. Yeah. And are you talking about like any topic or LGBTQ?
Any topic.
Okay.
Any topic, because I'm going to go back on that as well.
No, I just wanted to know that if I could properly address it. But so I think that, so youth come to us constantly, and just having that regular conversation like you and I are having right now, it doesn't have to be formal. We certainly don't want to like sit behind a desk and have a pad of paper out and act like we're taking all these clinical notes, because that's not who we are.
Who are you? Your name? What is your blood type?
Exactly. That is not who we are, and that's the great thing about our environment, is that we can be laid back. We meet youth where they're at. We go out in the community. We're like, oh, hey, you do you want to meet at the park today? Let's meet at the park. Yeah. And so, some of the best ways to get information out of young people is to go for a drive or go play basketball. I mean,
sitting there in the car drive, you're just talking, and then you're able to just freely just express yourself. You're in a very confined environment, but you're moving too.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of other things as well. But that's really such a good idea to like kind of go and meet them in where they're at, where they're comfortable, and kind of talk with them about what their concerns are.
Right. And so I think that's the first step, is really making sure that they're comfortable, and then they'll open up. And so, whatever issues they're personally going through. So if it's personal things, you talked kind of maybe on a bigger level of how can we address whatever things that they're going through, and then bring that to our staff or to the agency. And I would say, recently, I would say maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, certainly, youth violence has certainly come up in the community more than ever before.
When we say youth violence, do we mean like youth on adults, or like youth on youth, or just violence in general?
I think just violence in general.
Okay.
Certainly youth on youth, but I think violence in general has certainly increased. And so we're aware of that, and they have brought that to us. Our young people have told us, hey, this is what's going on. And we need to respond to that. And so we are not the experts. We don't consider ourselves the experts in every single topic. We are experts in some areas,
Like, we're here to help you here.
Absolutely.
We don't really control this, but if you come to us, we're going to try our best to help you, okay?
It's true, and we do. And, you know, sometimes the youth are the experts. They know what's going on. They know how best to relate to other youth, you know? And so, you know, they'll come to us and they'll say, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. And we react as best as possible. And we make mistakes. We don't react correctly, or we don't have the right resource, and we say, hey, we don't have this right now, but thank you for letting us know, and we're going to tap into some resources, and we're going to try to best serve you.
Exactly.
But stick with us, and don't abandon us completely, because, you know, we want to be aware of what's going on, and we want to be current and relevant. And so thank you for letting us know what's going on, both in the community and with them personally, because there's personal things that a young person might come in and you know, they present in a way, and we say, oh, hey, you know, they probably need help with budgeting. You know, they can't get a job. They're, you know, just running around. And so we think that that's what they need help with, but they don't. Like, that's not what their number one need is. Their number one need is safety. You know, they come in and they're like, I just need a safe place to sleep tonight. Yeah. And so we're like, all right.
So it's kind of like finding like those other things that are actually more more concerning. Or I guess to give an example, because even there was a period when me and my family, we had moved to our first suburb, and we had left. We actually ended up moving, and what had happened was I think I had been maybe 10 or 9. But we didn't have a place to go. We ended up like sleeping in a shelter and ended up living there for some time. And when I think about that experience and kind of what you were saying was like, oh, like, you know, you don't necessarily know all the things that could help you that you need, because you're so focused on surviving.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can be very tunnel vision, and then you miss out on a lot of things that can help. But you're so in that moment, you're just kind of like, okay, I need to do this today. You may be taking your minutes by minutes or your hours by hours.
Yes.
And then you look at the whole picture and kind of like, hey, we're here to lend a hand. Like, and how can we do that?
Right. But we need to address those immediate needs first, because you know, if you've got a kid in school who's going to school and his grades are slipping because he doesn't know where he's going to sleep that night, and he's more worried about where he's going to sleep or where he's going to get his next meal, you know, you don't want to say, why are your grades slipping? We need to work on math tutoring. No, you need to work on finding that young person a safe place to sleep and getting him a square meal so that he feels his basic needs are met. Yeah. And so that's what we want to focus on, is really getting those basic needs met first, and then moving from there.
And I want to jump back to our previous topic, but I kind of just like threw ourselves in the rope of like, okay, like youth and queer youth, and let's talk about all this stuff. But I kind of want to like, you should just shut me up and be like, hey, you're...
No, you know, I love talking about young people and about what we do, and so you gotta like shut me up.
Okay. We won't be shutting each other up, but that probably won't happen, y'all. We're just gonna be talking. But I want to go ahead and actually jump back to the previous topic of, are the needs different when you're speaking with someone who doesn't identify as an LGBT youth, or who does identify as an LGBT youth, maybe transsexual, transgender, bisexual, or just don't know?
You bring up so many different points, and I could
go on.
rabbit trail on any one of those. No, but you talked about like if a young person comes out or identifies and could lose their home, their stability at home, and that's very real. And so I think you have to plan for that. And so, you know, if they want to come out, even with that fear, we have to properly plan and let them know, okay, here are your options. Here's what could happen. You know, we certainly don't sugarcoat it and say, oh, it's going to be fine. You never are going to tell a young person, oh, it's going to be fine.
We don't know what's going to happen.
No, you have no idea if it's going to be fine. And so I think what's best is to properly plan for everything and just give them options. And this goes for any young person,
Yeah.
you know, with whatever concern that they're facing. And then, yeah, what are our options for you at that point? If you do get kicked out of your home, if you do lose that housing, what's next and how can we help? And thankfully we can help. We've got a couple different housing options. Again, for under 18, we've got licensed host homes that we use throughout the community.
Okay.
And so young people who have either run away from home or have been kicked out of their home and don't have a stable place to stay, we have those host homes, those resources. And they're not exactly long term, they're short term, but we can work with the family during that time, or we can work with, you know, maybe there's an aunt that can take the young person in, or maybe there's a friend. Maybe there's, you know, a friend from church or a friend from a social group or whomever that can take this young person in. And so we work with the family to figure that out. So that's great for those young people under 18. And then you've got the ones over 18 who, you know, are considered adults. So the minute you turn 18, and this happens a lot, kids get kicked out.
Yeah, it's like, boom, you're out the door.
Right. So for over 18, and especially for the LGBTQ community, you told me 15 minutes. That was at least 5.5.
So my camera does this weird thing, like anytime I format it, it like stops recording. I don't know what function it is. If y'all know how to fix it, let us know. But
Help
it just
me
did
out.
that. Like, help me out. Come on.
Seriously. Over 18. So especially with the LGBTQ community, so we've got a couple shelters in town, and they're wonderful homeless shelters, and you know, they're great staff. But the reality is that they segregate by male and female. They have a male side and a female side.
Okay.
And if a young person comes in and identifies
That's female. Yeah.
exactly,
Or male, if you be a male or male to female.
correct,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter. They'll put them on the side that they appear to be. Which is tough for our young
It
people.
is.
And quite honestly makes it more dangerous for them. And so thankfully, you know, we have some resources. We've got some emergency shelter connections that we can tap into, specifically for those situations, as well as others that maybe it's not safe for a young person to be in a shelter, or, you know, they just really have no other option. And so, you know, we can place them in some sort of emergency housing that is going to be more appropriate to their needs, and is going to focus on them as an individual and not group them into anything else.
It is this clump idea, like, oh,
Yes.
this is how we perceive you to be, because
Correct.
that is a really huge thing that I don't want us to like get a dead horse, but
Yeah.
you know, I agree. It is kind of like discerning or harmful to kind of put that person in that environment,
It
because
can be.
you know, who's to say, what if they know someone in their school that may be going through that same situation,
Right.
and it can elicit violence maybe, but you know, there's only so much resource and funding that you really have to work and see what can we do to make this person. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm like spitting. I have I just
It's okay.
work with me, so I'm probably spitting on the camera too. But just working with them and trying to get them into a safe place, who they identify as.
Correct.
But I kind of just want to touch that topic, because I'm like, oh man, I kind of skipped that, and want to make sure that when I do talk and ask these questions,
Yeah.
that when I say youth, I'm including youth who identify under the queer LGBTQ.
Right.
I'm using those very interchangeably. Interchangeably, if that's a
There you
word.
go. It is.
that
Yeah,
right?
that's a word.
Okay,
Totally
cool.
a word.
That's a word.
You can fact check.
Yeah,
That's totally a word.
Y'all can fact check me on that. Don't fact check me
Yeah,
on that.
Webster. Google it.
Well, Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary. I don't know if that would get you the most accurate definition. I would maybe not.
Life skills, kind of like, can we go into more specific
Yeah.
of what those skills that you guys provide to youth who come in and ask for assistance?
Sure. So we actually have life skills classes that we
Really?
host
That's
twice
awesome.
a week. Yeah, so twice a week, young people can come in. We serve a meal, because let me tell you exactly. Like, you already know, like, food speaks to the soul. So
Yeah.
people are going to come in to eat.
So I go right here.
Right? I mean, it's totally fine. And we let them choose what they want. You know, we're like,
yeah.
what do you think that you want? You know, do you want pizza? Do you want chicken? Do you want pot roast? Like, you let us know, we'll cook it up. We'll make it happen. And we try to do like a home cooked meal. We do crock pot meals. We don't have a full kitchen, but we do crock pot meals. And, you know, people love home cooked meals.
Home cooked meals. They're very
Right?
homey. It's very, I don't know, I agree with
Very
you. It's
welcoming.
very touching, warming, welcoming.
Yes.
Makes things feel like a home.
Yes.
And not just a house.
Right, exactly. So now that, you know, I've spent like 7 minutes talking about food, let's talk about life skills.
It was worth it though.
Which is actually part of the life skills. So we will make like a crock pot meal, and then we'll teach the kids, hey, we use 7 ingredients. It costs $12, and we made this meal for 10 of you. You know, so now you can go back, and if you have a family of your own, you know, we've got pregnant and parenting moms that we serve, and so they can make their family the same meal that we made and have leftovers all week. So it all ties in, you know, and so anything that we do, we try to kind of spin as a way to educate young people as well. So so cooking, education, we hook them up with resources, whether it's GED or getting back to high school or youth build or college, you know, post-secondary education, you know, a trade. If they're, you know, sometimes like traditional college isn't
for everyone.
No, it is
It
not
isn't,
for everyone.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. Like, you can be super successful without going to college. But, you know, they may be interested in welding or in like a dental assistance.
Driving,
And
plumbing.
so, right, exactly. So there's so many different trades, and we can connect them with those resources and help them, you know, get involved in those programs, whether it's at Heartland or through, you know, nursing homes have CNA certificates. So we can hook them up with that, and a lot of times there's some funding that we can help with on that to, you know, kind of cut the costs. So education, employment, if they need a resume, we like build resumes with them. We teach them interview skills. Maybe not nearly as formal as this, but we would sit down with them and, you know, kind of do mock interviews. Like, hey, I'm the employer, you're the employee. Let's talk, you know, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your successes and things like that.
And those are huge skills to have because you really don't think how important it is to go, like, learn how to actually interview. And why, like, when you're with your employer, they have you do, like, these mock trials. Because it's, you know, it's a process, and there's...
It is a process.
A structure to it all.
So work on those. You know, whether it's, like I said, we serve pregnant and parenting young moms. And so there's a lot of parenting skills that we need to teach that, you know, these young moms just haven't gotten. I mean, a lot of parents in general don't know what they're doing when they take their baby home from the hospital. Like, they're just like, what do I do with this thing? Like, this is like a little alien, and I don't know what to do with it, right?
What we gonna do?
Right, exactly. So, you know, we can help with that. We've got an awesome staff who is really kind of in tune with, like, parenting and mothering and knows the resources, and so she's just an awesome resource about you know, what the needs are of young moms and young children, and getting them properly assessed with, like, you know, the well child visits and immunizations and all those things.
Familiarizing them with, like, the things that you do have to do as a parent, because that's really important. I had a young mom. My mom, I ain't gonna tell your age, Mom. But
that's smart.
Talking with my cousins actually this past weekend about that, how we're entering that age where we started to see our parents kind of become, like, develop into themselves because they were young parents. They had to take care of kids, and they were growing themselves. They were going into adults and learning how to take care of kids, their children. And there's no one way of doing that.
Right, there's not.
And so it's useful to have someone here to set, you know, young parents up with the right resources and tools for things that they are not familiar with.
Right, exactly. So all those resources, and then too, you know, inclusive of the LGBTQ community, you know, we try to teach, like, cultural competency and awareness.
Huge importance.
Because a lot of a lot of the issues or a lot of the things that young people are dealing with, they don't know what their peers are going through. So it's not necessarily that they dislike their peers or that they are, hateful.
Yeah.
It's that they're just ignorant and they just haven't been given the tools.
Yep.
They just don't know. And so, we just want to educate them. And like I said, same with us. Sometimes we don't know. Things are ever evolving, ever changing. And so we may not address someone properly. We may not call them by their proper name or whatever, however they want us to address them. And so then they can say, hey, actually, I prefer this. And we're like, great, perfect.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. Just let us know. Know that we are learning alongside with you.
And it's a learning process too.
It
We
is.
both learn by our mistakes because ignorance is just a former state before you actually learn something,
Exactly.
before you are in a state of knowing, and that you can actually correct your behavior,
Yeah.
so that your competency of how that person wants to be perceived by the world
Right.
is holistic and fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, extremely important.
But young people want to be heard, they want to be seen, and they should be.
Yeah.
Because they have so many amazing things to say. I mean, I could tell you stories of all the things that young people have told me in that, over the years that I've been here. And I love it. I think it's what keeps all of us doing what we're doing is their stories, their voice, and just knowing that we can help them find that voice.
Yeah.
Because that's our goal. Is we're like, we'll give you the tools, and then you go from there. And shine.
But I do want to go back to you brought up host homes.
Sure.
Are those kind of like you have designated housing for people who come in or youth that come in who may be in need of a place to sleep and stay?
Yep.
What does that all include, I guess?
Sure. So our host homes are licensed foster care homes. They're licensed through the state.
So they go through the whole system?
They do. Yep. They're
Awesome.
background checked. They're cleared. We monitor them regularly. So there's never any concerns. We monitor for things like, are your smoke alarms up to date? Are your, outlets, whatever, along with certainly some of the bigger things, making sure that everybody's current on medical records and, like I talked about earlier, like vaccinations and do the pets have their rabies shots?
Yeah.
So, we monitor it all. So
Everything.
We do. So there's never a question. And these homes, these families are just regular families. They're families with kids. They're single women. They're single males. They're couples. They're retired couples. They're just regular people.
That's amazing.
And they have opened up their homes and their hearts to care for young people that are in crisis, in any sort of crisis. And so, like I said, that's usually for the under 18. And so young people that have run away from home or who have been kicked out of their home or don't feel safe at home or may not have a home to go back to, they come across our services usually through referral from schools, hospitals, law enforcement, Safe Place. I don't know if you've ever heard of Safe Place.
I've heard.
Good. That is awesome. That is so good because
Doing
not
some
everyone is.
homework.
Yeah, that's good for you. I appreciate
I'm trying
that.
to. So
No, that's
when
good.
people at work or someone comes up to me, I want to be able to be like, "Oh, you're experiencing this. I can try navigate to this." Or if I don't know it, I know that there is a place I can help you get to that.
Good. Thank you. That's what we need. Word of mouth and just getting us out
It is.
there.
It truly is about word of mouth.
But yeah, any young person can go anywhere. This is a national thing. But in our community, anybody can go to a location where they see the yellow and black Safe Place sign and get connected to their local resource that will help them. And the local resource here is us.
I saw you guys' sign outside too.
We have
I was
one
like,
as well.
"Oh!"
Yeah, we're a safe place. But all of the fire departments in Bloomington and Normal are safe places.
That's awesome.
Connect Transit buses are all safe places. So a young person can hop on a bus and say, I need help. I need a safe place. I know that by saying that, I will get connected to Project Oz services.
Wow.
And so they're all trained to then contact
I didn't know, like,
us.
the different, like, other resources like that were public resources.
Yep,
you know?
So they just make the call to us. The Bloomington Library is a safe place. So
Okay.
so they just make the call to us and we
It is.
respond. So, and it's a little less threatening than having to go to the police department, you know, because sometimes they don't feel that the police department's safe. And it is, you know, we have awesome relationships with our local law enforcement, but not all young people feel safe going there. So that's fine. We've given them other avenues to
Where they can go and
access our services. So yeah, and then we just work with that situation. We try and figure out what's going on, and if a young person needs a safe place to stay then that night, that's when we enlist our host homes.
Intervene and help.
Yeah, so and
Awesome.
we've got an awesome network of families and individuals that.
I'm like upset with myself that I don't like. I'm starting to learn all these different intricate webs of like resources and things that are available.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, youth and their parents just need a break from each other. It doesn't mean that they don't care about each other. It doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that we certainly don't step in and remove young people from their families. That's not our job. You know, our number one goal in every situation, as long as it's safe, is family reunification. You know, we want to keep families together and work on that relationship. And so, but sometimes you need a break.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Because we can be pretty dramatic. Us, just growing up.
We all can be
teenagers,
dramatic.
yeah. I'm so dramatic. You like just tone it down. Just tone it down a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's my personality, so no.
Nice. Real nice.
We don't need an icebreaker.
I think we're past that point. Well past.
We're starting to see more numbers increase with youth. Like I said, inclusive earlier. Due to disparities in mental health, housing. How is your organization, and how do you personally make sure that your organization is kind of being accountable when youth are kind of approaching you about, hey, I'm being bullied, or hey, I don't. We know the part where if they don't have a place to stay, but if they just outright say like, I had an attempt. So
there's a couple of ways that we respond to that. First, I don't know if you've heard, we have a program called Ending the Silence, and it is a program to bring awareness to mental health and suicide. And the goal is to go into the schools in the community. We go into all the schools in the community and bring awareness to this topic more on the front end as a preventative measure rather than a reactive.
Yes.
Because I don't know about you, but I mean, gosh, there's so many times that a young person will, you know, complete suicide and the school reacts to it, which is fine. You know, it's good. You need to have some sort of response. But that's all it is we just wait until something happens and then we come in and react and we respond. And so thankfully we noticed that there was a concern there that, hey, let's work on the prevention side of things because we're a prevention agency. Here's another area that kind of works towards prevention. And we teamed up with NAMI, and there you go, right? And we're offering this Ending the Silence program, and we reach thousands of students every year by going in and speaking to true life, real life experiences that our staff and volunteers have. And they can be sounds funny, but a beacon of hope for these young people, really.
No, not funny at all.
So they go into the schools, they're doing that, and quite often young people have come up to our staff afterwards and said, hey, you know, I made an attempt last night, or I have a friend who I think is struggling.
Or thoughts,
or gosh, this is the first time that I've ever felt heard and that I can talk to someone about this, so thank you.
Truly important.
And it's been a wonderful response, and we've gotten a great response on our end and through the schools certainly. But then we have to take those next steps. So those young people that go up to our staff and say, you know, I've made an attempt, or I'm thinking about this, or you know, I know a friend then we can say, okay, let's connect you with the proper resources. Let's connect you with a counselor in the school, or let's connect you with, you know, a mental health professional in the community.
Yes, yeah.
Because again, our expertise stops at some point. You know, we are not, you know, we have some mental health background for sure, but we're not, you know, licensed professional counselors, anything, you know, and so we also know that there are other resources out there that we need to connect the young people to. So that's one of the ways. Other ways, you know, if the kids aren't in school and they're not getting this material in the school, and they come into our office and they say, hey, you know, here's what I'm thinking, or I made an attempt, or I have thoughts of suicide. We work on safety planning with them.
Yes.
Okay, you know, do you have a plan? Have you thought about this? Is this something that you're really, you know, you've really thought about, or do you have means to it? Some of those kind of basic questions to see kind of where they're at, and then safety plan accordingly. You know, do you have someone that you can talk to immediately? Here's some phone numbers. Anybody can call PATH at any time of day. PATH is it's just up the road.
Okay.
You can call 211.
Ooh,
they're a crisis resource referral network. And
211.
211. That's it.
I have the card for that, don't I?
You should. I'm sure you
211?
do. 211.
Yeah, I've seen that number before.
So they can call that number if they're having thoughts of suicide, or just if they're upset, or whatever the situation is, or if they need a resource, a connection to housing. They can dial 211 and they say what they're going through, and the volunteer operators know who to connect them with. And 211 actually answers our calls as well. And so if a young person is like, it's 2 a.m. and they're like, I need to talk to a Project Oz counselor, or I'm running away, I'm going to run away and I'm out of here, they can call 211, and their volunteers will connect them with us. So we are on call.
That's beautiful.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Really?
365 days a year. All of the days.
That's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
That's a huge commitment too.
Yeah, our staff are devoted and committed for
Really?
sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We've got a great core staff that is constantly answering calls and out there in the field and working all the crises.
Give a shout out to Project Oz for really, really being there for our youth here.
Our staff are amazing. Yeah, they do great work. I'm always amazed daily by what our frontline staff are doing and the things that they're telling me. So I love it. I'm proud of them.
It's amazing. Well, it sounds like first line leaders as well as the second line leaders have a really strong path, structure in place when addressing suicide rates. I have a double question.
Okay.
It is, what are some challenges that you've noticed since you've started working here at Project Oz that you guys have faced? And then what were some of the, or not some of the, but what were the solutions that you had provided when you had encountered those challenges?
Awesome. Okay. I can think of 2 recent ones.
Okay.
So one, about 5 or 6 years ago, we know that there's no youth shelter in the community. Well, and even further back, so there's no youth shelter in the community. You know, you can't, if you are under 18 and you're homeless, there's nowhere for you to stay.
Nowhere to go. Wow.
There's nowhere to go. And so that's when we thought about host homes, and we enlisted these families that were willing to do this for us. And so we built a strong network of host homes. And, you know, we've been host home strong for 20 plus years. Which has been awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that was something then. It then evolved from there when we realized that young people, 18, 19, 20 years old, while they can get into the adult shelters, it may not necessarily be the safest or the most appropriate place for them. Because a lot of times we've seen that young people are re-victimized in shelter settings. And again, the homeless shelters here in town are wonderful. They have great staff. They offer a need that is...
Yeah, no personal attack, but...
For sure.
This happens.
Yeah, but young people just have different needs, and there's different things that are going on. And so we saw that as well. And so we were able to kind of advocate and get a grant to help kind of provide some additional emergency shelter specifically for young people in that age range.
Yes.
And so we can, like I said, we can screen the young person, and if the shelter is not necessarily the best area for them, depending on need and availability on our part, we can provide an alternative housing resource for them, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'd say one of the third things that I had a list.
Bring them in. We need them all. Let's take them all.
So again, in the last several years, we've seen a rise in sexual exploitation among young people. And this kind of runs a spectrum. You've talked about a spectrum earlier, but a spectrum of, whether it's young people engaging in survival sex, which is, you've got a young person who is kicked out and has no place to stay, but someone says, oh yeah, you can stay in my house, but here are the things that you have to do.
Yeah, wow.
Which is so hard, but when they're in survival mode, that's what they'll do to be safe and to survive. And so, but given the option to have a safe place, a safe housing situation without that, they will take that option.
Yeah, of course.
It is strictly survival. And so it's anything from survival sex all the way to trafficking, to true trafficking that's happening.
Yeah.
I know people hear that word and they think, Chicago, Washington, D.C., or they think international.
That issue's happening everywhere.
It is.
Okay?
It's happening all over.
Clean your ears.
Open
your eyes.
Right, it's true. Yeah. So we saw that, again, it started to come up. We realized it more and more. And we addressed that in that we wrote a grant specifically to provide transitional housing for young people at risk of commercial sexual exploitation. And we received that grant a few years ago, and we've been at capacity in that housing since we opened.
Wow.
So
definitely a strong need for that in the community.
There is, and people may not see it because it's a little underground and it's a little hidden, but it's prevalent, and it's becoming more prevalent. And again, we're still learning. We still learn things every day about what's going on out there in the community and how we can respond to that need. And so
hopefully this video doesn't drive more people here. Hopefully it does, actually.
No, we want to serve everyone. Here's the reality though, is that over in just our housing and kind of our outreach for runaway and homeless young people, we have over 200 young people come through and apply for services, and we serve all those young people, and that's just in our over 18 homeless outreach. That's just one small sector.
That's a huge number too.
It is. And so we serve all those young people on an outreach basis, but we only have housing spots, like transitional housing spots, for about 20 of those. So 10%.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a perfect world, we'd be able to house everyone, and we'd be able to provide.
Perfect world, no one would be homeless.
Right, exactly, right, because we'd be solving it. Yeah. Project Oz would solve homelessness, obviously.
But it goes back to what we were saying, kind of using your funding and your resources to the best that you can.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are really, really making use of everything, and listening to the community and things like that. And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Add-on piece of that?
No, that was pretty much
it. That wasn't me telling you to shut up.
Okay, good.
At all.
Yeah, no, nobody can do that, because I'll keep going. You've got me in my groove now.
Hopefully the camera doesn't stop our groove, okay? Right. But just my final piece that I always love to ask is, did you have anything you wanted to share with my audience that we may have not addressed or talked about? Any last words?
Gosh, I don't know. No, I mean, other than, if you know young people that need help in any capacity, know that they can call us, know that they can call Path and get connected with us. Even if we're not the appropriate resource for them, we'll connect them to the appropriate resource. And, you know, sometimes, like I said, we can't serve everyone on every aspect.
Yeah.
But we serve a lot. We serve thousands of young people in this community every year. And so if you know anybody, certainly send them our way.
Yeah.
And we'll work with them and we'll see what we can do. And like our Facebook page.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Yeah, there we go.
we have a Facebook page and it's cool.
Mark it, sweetheart. Mark it
We
all.
do. It is so cool. I think it's Project Oz Youth. It may just be Project Oz. You can look it up. I mean, there's not many Project Oz's in Bloomington. There's only us.
And what I normally do, I typically just go and
Yeah.
like research if you have any
Good.
social medias, and I just add
Yes.
them all into the video description. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I let you guys know that information will be provided here.